back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week is no exception. Unity looks for a buyer. Our initial bid of about $350 was rejected. Lucille, God gave me a gift. I shovel well. I shovel very well. That's right. The knight who goes shovel lands on Linux. And yes, I'm completely aware that last sentence made no fucking sense. And we have a contender for the most expensive DLC ever released for a free game in the world.
Metro disappears from Linux, but will it be our last light? Metal Dead promises laughs, but no actual metal. And Octodad makes with the free DLC. Japan is simultaneously terrified and excited.
Artifacts Monday publishes another hidden object game. In other shocking news, Sky reportedly still blue. And Vanquished Alpha is up to version 32. New gun, new animation, and tons of bug fixes. And then we talk about a 404 page, because someone didn't have the balls to keep it up.
Now, I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual in Athens, all the way from the great white north. Mr. Huang, how you doing, baby?
I come from the land of the ice and snow.
And Space Portugal, our other heterosexual life partner, Pedro.
Pedrismo!
And together with Shatreal Dynamic, joining us live around whatever Saturday night, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. So, gentlemen, what's been going on in your life organs this week? P-Man.
Well, for me, I figured out why working in IT in Portugal is not very nice. Mostly because the moment I fired up a database browser, I had access to a lot of databases I wasn't supposed to. So the security here is horrible.
That explains the economy. J-Man.
Oh god, the new Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS has taken over my fucking life. Oh man, I was gonna spend the week playing Borderlands 2, but then Sunday morning I'm like, wait, no, that's out. God damn it! And then 3 days went down the drain. I also bothered to reorganize my entire media collection. That took forever. What about you, Ben? What's going on?
Well, my biggest news of this week was Quickster coming to Linux. That's right. You no longer have to futz with a user agent switcher, and that was met with a resounding, okay, that's neat, because everything in my withering house already has Quickster installed on it. I'd be surprised if my dishwasher didn't have a Netflix app. Seriously. And also, the quality is a bit shit under HTML5. And I don't think that's a restriction of HTML5. And before anyone goes, but the DRM and... How many Steam games do you own? Yes, that's right. Shut the fuck up. So...
really, we already lost on that front. EMEs are a thing now. It's over.
Yeah.
So who kicked us somewhat sticky this week? Mrs.
Herr Klaus.
Ooh, yes. Herr Klaus.
You know, for our tacit endorsement of the Arctic's complete lack of child labor laws, Mr. Claus has given us 5 wet stinky bucks.
Good on you, sir, and welcome to the Super Squad. But I think we gotta.
Wait, you know who else is super?
Oh, Schnappy.
Yeah, Schnappy's the super.
Check him out.
He's giving you the super autumn hosting deals.
He's practically
Tell him
shooting
about it,
leaves. He's so excited about those deals.
I
That's
know.
right. Unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, 3.96 a month. And check out this tech support. It's real tech support. I've called them up, hammered, 3 o'clock in the morning trying to sort something out. Boom. They're on it. Real person. Hooking you up. And the hosting, it's fantastic. We use it for our front end. But J-Man, for $3.96 a month, you can't beat that deal, can you?
Oh, fuck that, sir. I absolutely can. Enter the offer code of Tasticness. Linux Gamecast FTW. That's for the wieners. And of course, you will get 25% off your hosting purchase. Doesn't count for domain names, but you already have one of those, don't you? Like aspire.com.
That's a brilliant thing. So, how's that horse this week, baby?
You know, the horse is looking a bit more cinematic than usual. I think it's being held back by something. But it's a Steam Linux update!
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah. CD Projekt promises no visual downgrade from for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, this came up because their screenshots looked moderately okay, and some people were worried
what was that noise? Did someone step on your balls?
Let's not talk about that. But yeah. There was an insider at NeoGAF that claimed the studio's PR team is creating an overblown vision of a game that doesn't exist. So everyone was up in arms about it, and someone actually from CD Projekt actually came forward and said, no, the game will look like that. It probably will look better because it's still very early in alpha and they want to make sure everything's working. Those are just promotional things, and they promise it'll look that good.
Well, here's what I want to know. First, when I first saw that, I was like, yeah, that could definitely fuck it up. But I know another way. It could really destroy it.
You know, don't worry about it, because the fine folks at Virtual Programming are doing it for them.
Yeah.
No, I was laughing about it. I remember when P-Man a couple of weeks back was on Door to Door Geeks, filling in, doing that business. And I think Cody Cooper, he was at one of the game expos, and he walked up to them and he said, well, what about the, what do you think about that Linux board? And the guy just lowered his head and
immediately stone-faced himself and was like, yeah, we will not discuss Linux at this point.
Yeah,
of course.
So don't pre-purchase that business or anything. Even look at it sideways until we see a actual port. Probably from we have Aspire and we have Feral. Brilliant houses, brilliant people that can do this. There's no need to wrap that in something that kind of performs almost as well as wine.
Yeah. under the right circumstances, under a blue moon.
Dig baby.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Shovel Knight. What is it? You never heard of it? Shovel Knight is a sweeping classic action-adventure game with awesome gameplay, memorable characters, and 8-bit retro static. It clocks in at 14.99 wet stinky caches. It has full controller support, and let's check out these requirements. An Intel Core 2 Duo, a Ubuntu 12.04. Why is that still being supported? And 2 gigs of memory RAM. It's amazing. And only 250 gigajoules of storage are required. You run around, you poke your things with the shovel sticks, you make with the jump in, you listen to chip
actually,
bits.
the download on this was something like 136 megs.
Yeah, but it downloads compressed.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
But we're definitely going to be talking more about that later on because it might get some chairs thrown in its direction.
Yes.
And by might, I mean probably. Anyways, this is Costume Quest 2, the sequel to the previous Double Fine prequel, Costume Quest 1. What is it? Never heard of it, like Ven would say. Of course, it's an RPG where your classes are basically
like
various Halloween costumes.
A sequel to the popular Halloween adventure Double Fine. That's it. Deal with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I read that off the store page.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's plagiarism, man. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no. If you played Costume Quest 1, this might tickle your fancy. It looks like it's certainly a graphical improvement from the first game. But of course, Double Fine makes with the Linux on day one, which is pretty fucking nice. Tim Schafer, we love you. We want to suck your dick.
The Schafer delivers yet again, and for me personally, at this point, Double Fine would have to screw the Linux pooch real bad to lose the good faith they've gathered for me over the years. But this game is not without its controversy. If you go on over to the Steam forums, you'll find a buttload of people complaining and saying that they are boycotting Double Fine because of the space-based DF9 game that was released in early access, and then when they realized that they didn't have the resources to dedicate to it or the money, they decided to, you know what, the game's working, let's just release it. It's no longer early access, it's a finished game. If anyone wants, they can still mod it whatever they want in, and you know what, that's okay with me. Personally, I'm glad they're not wasting any more resources on it.
I don't know. I mean, Costume Quest, I remember playing the first one for about 10 minutes and going, this one I don't get. I mean... It's
an RPG. They're usually not your bag.
I want another brutal legend with actual focus on being a PC game other than a console game with really shit PC controls.
Yeah, and really boring strategy segments.
Actually, I think my favorite game out of Double Fine so far was The Cave. Actually, that was,
that was one of my favorites. Yeah, Psychonauts is always a classic, but nothing's
Oh,
more
yeah,
metal, right?
But yeah, up next is Metal Dead, a game that disappointingly has no metal in it. It has dead. What is it? A hilarious and terrifying adventure filled with laughs, blood, insanity, and of course, hordes of the undead. Honestly, this game looks like it was written in Flash. It looks like the guy's trying to rip off Don Herzenfeld, the guy from the Rejected cartoons. But apparently it got a nod for its dialogue. Apparently it almost won an award for that. So,
banana.
my anus is bleeding for the love of God and all that is holy. All right, enough of that. But yeah, no, it's I believe it's an adventure game, point and click.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through there, you solve puzzles, you click on all the things, but the trailer had no heavy metal on it, and that made me very, very upset and angry. So I had to go crank up the Slayer and then not play this game. Pedro, you had some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I read the blurb they had on the store page there, and it reads, Metal Dead is a hilarious comedy slash
I already read
it. And
Quit plagiarizing.
click adventure
Pedro.
filled with laughs.
Quit plagiarizing my plagiarism, Pedro.
Yes. Now, they seem to be very keen on making people understand that their game is funny. And I'd like to ask them, would you please be so kind as to let me know exactly how funny you think your game is? Because from the 2 times you mentioned it in the opening blurb, I don't think I got it.
All right, well, let's cut the metal
So Pedro, tell us about the Golden Dawn. You
to
have
golden
some
showers.
It's not the Golden Dawn. Those are the Greek Nazis. No, this is the Golden Wake. It is a game developed by the lovely, lovely folks at Grundislav Games and published by Wajidai Games, which are the ones that contacted us. Ben, you got the email originally.
They threw it in our face organ. This is a couple of days before it released, and like, hey, we really want to get this out on Linux when it releases with everything else. And I was like, well, it's point and click. Fine, we'll help you. So they needed some help getting the Steam achievements up and running, and just other little
Cloud
bits.
syncing.
Yeah, cloud syncing. That was another thing. It all
You know,
got
good on
sorted.
them for actually putting some effort into getting that working. I find that incredibly annoying.
It comes
that
with the
doesn't work
director's
on most
commentary.
games.
I like it. It's definitely point and click. It's definitely a throwback. It is better than some of the previous attempts that ran in a window that was about that big. But I'm going to say, if you're playing this
Yeah.
full screen, you want to be
640 by
overcharged.
480?
Right. Not even that is probably.
Or
It's
is like
320 by
200.
240. Yeah, it's 320 by
So
240.
This will
The game's
bring all
being
that
rendered at
pixely
90.
goodness back to your heart organ. Check it out if you like it. If you like that type
But
of
yeah,
thing, it's retro.
It is very much a point-and-click adventure. It's, like Ven said, it's being rendered in a 320 by 240 window. It just gets upscaled to your monitor's resolution, and it upscales properly.
How much does it cost?
$14.99.
It costs, $14.99.
That's a bit steep for a pixel point and click game.
But it will run in just about every PC built in the last 10 years. Trust me, I tried.
Or 30 years for that matter. But apparently Nori has something to do now.
Yeah, she keeps leaving me in the dark, but this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Left in the Dark. No one on board. Like I mentioned in the opening segment, it is published.
Pedro, most women leave you in the dark. That's
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But yeah, it was published by Artifex Mundi, so you can tell just from that it is a hidden object game. It is
No,
using
ladies and
Artifex
gentlemen, this
Mundi's...
is not Nightmares from the Deep. The game that-
it's not. It's similar, but it's not.
it's Nightmares of the Deep, but a snuff film. Kinky.
Kinda, but it was actually developed by Moonrise Interactive, though no idea who those guys are. But yeah, it is basically another Artifex Mundi game, so if you played one, you know exactly what to expect from these. I just hope that these guys actually managed to get some proper voice acting in.
I don't know. I mean, it's got to the point when I see that particular setup, that engine they use, I was like, oh, I know where this came from.
Yep.
And granted, the first one they released on Linux was...
You do the search grid.
Right. It was all right. It was nothing special. It was a good port. But, yeah, this is a different coat of paint on the same business. But what's that going to run you? $7.99. You might try it. But, personally, I like free games. That's what I like.
Free games are nice.
$1,000 DLC. Oh yeah,
come on, man! It's Wake Fu. I've been playing this game on Java for 5 years, and this is some DLC for the free game.
It's the only Square game that works on Linux.
Hey,
just the one.
It's
the
a
one
massive
Square Java game.
Multimedia something.
Yes.
This content requires the base game Wake Fu and Steam in order to play. What is it about? Fuck all, this page won't tell you. But it will tell you if you want this DLC for this free game. It's only $99.99.
$99.99.
Wow. That has to be a record for a free-to-play game, and they don't even try to nickel and dime you. It's like, fuck you. Right there.
Fuck you. Just shut up and give us your money.
And I have nothing against Wake Fu. I played it for a little while.
Not too long ago.
I mean, it's been in development forever.
Wakfu's pretty old. It's
yeah,
for a while.
But yeah, $100 worth of DLC for an isometric 2D MMO that's free? Really?
People will buy it. Come on.
If that doesn't make perfect logical sense to you, then sir, you need to stop drinking super glue like fruit punch.
But it tastes so tasty.
But something is made solid stone very much with the not happy comrades.
Oh yes.
Yes. What did you do?
Say you've been living under a rock on Mars for the last couple months, and you get back to Earth and you hear, oh, look, Metro Last Light came out on Linux, and you go to buy it, and lo and behold, it's not there. Well, apparently this is due to the fact that Deep Silver wants the Redux games to take the front stage on Steam, and they're going to let people who've already bought the games keep them. But if you want to buy a new copy of the game, you got to buy the Redux version, which, I mean, from a business move is understandable. You don't want people buying their old product when you have your new shiny hotness out there. If you want to play that on Linux, though, you got to find a friend who owns it and have them do the family sharing business. Or you got to wait till when is it coming out for Linux? When did they say?
At the end of the year, sometime. That's my biggest issue.
Yeah, they said November.
Well, this makes something that resembles a logical move for the Windows version and everyone who has this game. It's not available for Linux yet. You just noped it out of the store, and it's like, oh, goody. So I don't know about that. Maybe you should have held off until you actually had something to replace it
until
with.
the Redux is
right. Even with the Redux, but all the DLC for that you can no longer make with the purchasing. So.
Although if you already own it, and if you buy it from sites like Green Man Gaming and all the other storefronts on the internet, if you get a Steam key for that, you can still redeem it. You'll still get everything from that Steam key. You just can't buy it from Steam.
Yeah, the depot should still exist because people who have the game want to re-download it. So there you go. Coming up next, regular news. A lot of money and some tentacles.
Giggity.
Kinky. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your good old regular Linux news. And then, I hear someone wants to see the wet stinkies.
Show me some money. Unity, one gaming development platform to unite them all. Up for sale? Should say question mark because... I can't really get anything out of this. Here's the scuttlebutt going around. A presentation pitching Unity has been circulating around the gaming industry. Sources say a potential buyer gets popular software that powers games large and small. And really, they managed to write an entire article out of that little bit. I mean, it's Phronix worthy, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see them going to become, with that business because it's going to give you extra.
It's certainly a property that a company would want to acquire.
It is, but that worry. I mean, I understand why you would do it for the extra revenue. Maybe you can expand development and all that, but that's a two-sided chainsaw to be perfectly honest with you, because it could be a good or bad thing. I mean, when I look at bad, we've given Unity a lot of shit that it deserves. Fairly,
wait, does their CEO have a popped collar? My
Probably.
God. Jeez, that's just...
The bad thing
turbo
would be,
douche.
a company purchases it. They're like, oh, focus is only on mobile. Nobody else does anything but mobile games from now on. And to get perfectly honest, Unity is great for getting your app out on the Androids and on the Apples. But if that ever happens, I'm not terribly worried about this, because we have LEDWorks and we have Unreal 4.
And CryEngine.
CryEngine, hopefully.
I would say while Unity does make up, I would say, the bulk of games on Linux, it certainly makes up for the bulk of shitty ones too.
Yeah, most of the Unity games we get on Linux are pretty terrible. Say, Legends of Aetherius comes to mind.
Yeah, no, it would be kind of sad if they ripped out Linux export capabilities, but
yeah, but
I mean,
there are some genuinely good Unity games like Distance,
Wasteland
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty good, and I want to see Wasteland 2 is already out, but I want to see more of it. I want more
Torment,
content.
Project Eternity.
Yeah,
those are all
good.
good.
Definitely what
Unity
you're
too.
saying is that it's great it's like my first game engine, but it is expandable enough to where you can do something
as long as it
incredible.
has a proper developer behind it, it can be a great engine. It can look awesome and actually work properly and provide you with the tools to give out a port for Mac and Linux at the same time as you're giving out the regular Windows version. That's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, it attracts a lot of the noobs of game development, and then we get shitty games.
Oh, Megabyte Punch is another good Unity game.
That is a
Yeah, that
fantastic
was
one.
pretty good too.
All right. So up next, AMD had recently released their support for the 315 kernels, and now the 317 kernels are out. Guess which proprietary drivers you can't use on this?
Oh, I don't know. Does it rhyme with AMD?
Yes, but you know what? It's a little bit better because they've added some enhanced R9 2900 or 290 support. They've actually included a lot of Nouveau fixes if you're still actually using the open source drivers. We'll talk a bit about that on the hate mail section actually.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm looking at with this is it does add support for the Xbox One control.
Because Microsoft did not want people to use the Xbox 360 controller on the Xbox because you can't have hardware that doesn't become obsolete every fucking 7 years. That's woo.
But unfortunately, it does not include vibration support, which makes it completely useless, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, to be fair, how many games on Linux actually have Rumble support?
I don't know how many have. It
360
depends on how many
Dust.
Ethan Lee's ported.
Yeah, Dust.
As long as they use SDL2, they have Rumble support. Just saying. Yeah, supposedly the 317 kernel also improves performance with the R600 cards on the Mesa drivers. I might have to build that for Ubuntu and try it myself.
Yeah, no, it looks like a pretty cool package altogether, but that's typical with new kernel releases. Lots of crazy new shit to play around with.
Well, with everything
But
there is
speaking of
silver lining.
AMD,
Okay.
Yes, there's some hope because AMD has a new CEO. It's Dr. Lisa Su. You can see her picture there, and according to the PC Per guys from where we got this article, that's the only picture that they have of her. It's from CES, I think, a couple of years back. But yeah, that's her. She was the former COO of the company, and now that their current CEO, which I can't for the life of me remember his name, has stepped down, she's the one, and she was being groomed to be the new CEO. And
It
as long
kinda
as
makes
she
me happy,
doesn't...
man, right? Because we've had a lot of... To be a CEO, you have to be a special breed of psychopath,
yes.
And we've had... I'm not trying to play, hey, look, gender code or whatever. I think Marissa Meyer has done a reasonable job at unfucking the fail train that was YouTube.
Yeah.
Not YouTube.
That was Yahoo. Including shutting down Yahoo search.
Yep.
So,
But hey.
Though, to be fair, no one was using that.
all right, keep talking.
Yeah, but as long as she doesn't halt AMD's contributions to Mesa and the Linux kernel and all that, I don't care. I'll probably still be getting an NVIDIA card for my next PC. I may even, assuming she steers AMD in that direction, I may even come to praise her as the new Jesus if by some stroke of fate she makes AMD start giving a shit.
Do
about
not
Linux.
do that, or Jordan will crucify her.
I keep telling you, that was an accident. I tripped and accidentally crucified the last one. You keep bringing this up, man.
I'm just saying,
I can't deal with this anymore.
crucifixion has become like
No,
the second leading cause of death in North America behind shark attacks.
I know.
Yes.
and lightning- whilst winning the lottery. But,
So,
you know,
Dr. Lisa Sue, I say good on you. Please don't fuck it up. It would be difficult,
Yeah, really
almost
don't.
nay impossible to fuck up AMD any more than it currently is. Do some good in there, sort some brains, smash them around, and maybe next year we'll be saying, hey, let's buy an AMD card for once. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Octodad, brilliant.
Oh, yes. So, Octodad is pushing out an update. And it comes with a couple of free episodes of DLC. It comes with one where you're attempting to romance your wife in the main game. And there's another one where essentially it's Surgeon Simulator with Octodad. I don't know. You're working in a hospital. I'm assuming it will be something similar to this.
Yeah, probably.
But you know, it's certainly priced to sell. It's completely free. It comes with the
Yeah, appropriately priced DLC. I think the Wakfu guys could take a few hints.
Listen, $1,000 is perfectly reasonable for a free game. you're just being a slimmy to me. But you know, I mean, as harsh as we were on the game, after our review, they had actually fixed controller support, and the game is actually really fun with proper controller support. So you already own it.
Actually playable. I went back, after the review, and they're like, "Oh, look, their review's done. Let's fix the controller support."
pretty much. They supported non PS4 controllers, and now works great. Very
And
fun.
it is the
also
early
also
champion.
done. Is it?
It is.
Yes. So there you go. Pick that up, or if you already have that, you have some new stuff to play for Octodad. But let's annex Poland. I think that's a good idea.
Why not?
No, this is Annex. This is a Mega Glest real-time strategy game. And they actually just hit 4.0. And that's kind of cool. They have a couple new factions. They have some organizational units. New tile sets, better AI. Wow, they actually have a save and load game feature. That is completely fucking mind-blowing. Apparently they have some new voice work as well. And they're entirely free open source. So that's pretty neat.
I liked it. I gave it a download, played it on my computer organ. It is, I think, one of the very few, if not only, game making use of the Megaglast engine outside of Megaglast itself, and it's very obvious when it starts up. You're like, hey, look, Megaglast with a different texture pack.
Mega!
It's basically a one-man project, so you can't knock on it at all, and it's priced to sell. It's completely free. At the end of the day, take that shot. It is collect resources, build shit, go attack the game. Nothing new.
It's a real-time strategy game.
Right.
But it's
you're not going to find any new
completely
mechanics
open
in
source if you want to
Completely
install
free,
it.
and it would probably run on Pedro's calculator without issue, man.
It
Probably.
does.
But speaking of
But
calculators,
real-time strategies.
let's talk about the best way to play Natural Selection 2 on Linux.
Oh,
Pedro,
Yes. And it's confirmed to be working on my calculator. If you haven't been a regular watcher / listener of Linux Gamecast, you probably don't know what Unvanquished is. But yeah, we've had a long story with this game, especially with it not working properly. But they've since gone way past that point, and it works. It really works. And this latest patch, they bring in a bunch of new performance
Oh
and
my
optimization.
glob. They finally added CNAR to disable GLARB sync. Thank you.
Yeah, you can see the changelog over on their website. It's unvanquished.net. There'll be a link in the show notes. Don't worry about that. But yeah, basically they
all
have
links are in the show notes, of course.
Yep. They have a new SMG skin for the rifle with the appropriate changes like a higher fire rate and a slightly reduced damage, no D. New animations for the Mantis alien and a complete overhaul. They actually redid the animation from the ground up for the Trapper alien. But perhaps most importantly, like Jordan said, it works. Alpha as it may be, it's better than Natural Selection 2 on Linux ever was. And that was
Well, that's easy because it doesn't
release.
nope as soon as you fire your first shot. Which is
Yeah.
still a known bug that's
But
been
they-
around there since Genesis. Still fucking there.
Yep. But they actually need to fix the custom asset downloading when you're joining a server, because I'm not going to sift through like a 16 megabyte download at 8 kilobytes per second.
I know
Not gonna happen.
it's really eating up all of Portugal's bandwidth.
This isn't
the-
1998 anymore, guys.
The,
Come on.
the rest of the Portuguese are getting really upset at Pedro every time he wants to play unvanquished. But speaking of slander and libel,
Slander and libel and plagiarism. It's not plagiarism.
plagiarismo.
It's 404, page
You know,
not
take it
found.
away, El Plagiarismo.
Well, yeah, it's gone now.
And
Yeah.
it's gone.
End of story.
So I was the dumbass bragging about a 404 page for the better part of this week. But
Really?
Yeah,
You're a dumbass?
originally-
That's no surprise.
originally, this was a hate article defending Liam Dowey from Gaming on Linux due to some of the exchanges we've had this week, but we're not going to talk about that. I've said what I wanted to say to Liam to his face, so I'm done. But yeah, here's the cached version that Ven's showing you. Basically, it boils down to him accusing me of plagiarizing a review I wrote for them in 2011.
Wait. I just need to go and get this off my chest. I don't. I found this irritating for two things. A, it's so poorly written. That's insulting.
Yeah,
B, I couldn't find any proof, any evidence of
because
that,
there is none.
and that pisses me and Jordan off to no fucking end.
I know, right?
Ugh.
If he had actually been busted for plagiarism, we could have endless fun with that.
You don't understand it. It's not like we like each other or we love Pedro or anybody like come on, give it to us. Well, we can rail this motherfucker.
We need
Yeah.
ammunition, people. Come. We can
They're
only
looking
make
for
so
those
many
bullets.
Portuguese people or poor jokes over the span of a single episode.
But yeah, there are numerous grammatical errors in this particular article. It makes me, a non-native English speaker, look like a fucking genius compared to him.
Actually,
But
I
hey.
would say, the old articles you gave me, I'd say they're about the same number of spelling and grammar mistakes.
Yes, the first few ones I'll agree with you.
It's
I
about
don't
it.
even debate that. But that says a lot. Someone who's actually a native English speaker writes as good an article as I do? Really? A Portuguese guy who
I
only
don't
speaks
know.
English on the
Let's
weekends?
just go ahead and let Pedro get this out of his system. So what's this bullshit all about since you're still on the drama train?
Yeah, so this is after he pulled the article, I literally blocked him on Google Plus. And apparently he had made a comment which I didn't even have time to read because either he or someone reported the comment as spam and Google probably sacked it. I didn't even get to read it until David Key on Google Plus posted those screenshots of his comment saying as to why he had removed the article. He felt like he was stooping down to my level and he wouldn't have that. Kind of bullshit, because I have it on good authority that someone actually actually found a vulnerability on his website, and the moment that they detected that someone was in their system, they pulled the article down.
I do like how he claims that he is the open source community. That's
Yes. Oh, Maddie. Maddie in chat realm is asking.
just like I am the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Oh, bow before me!
And this screenshot that Ven's showing here, it's the one with the last conversation I had with Dean prior to starting the show. He actually made a new account on Google Plus, and he said that he wanted to apologize so long as I admitted that I had plagiarized whatever he was accusing me of plagiarizing in his article. And I spent a good 10 minutes trying to explain to him what I had actually done, and that he had been the one who hadn't given me a chance to do that back in 2011. And then, well, that happened.
I think we spent 10 minutes too many going over this garbage for
I
this
don't
week.
know.
So
I think from now on, Pedro's just going to be plagiarizing all the things.
Yeah, from now on, it's open season, motherfucker.
There is not an original thought that goes on in this guy's head. Coming up next, we dig our own graves and throw chairs at Shovel Knight. Well, I'm here with the Blue Raja and Mr. Furious to talk to you about Shovel Knight. We're throwing some chairs at that. It's from Yacht Club Games. It was kickstarted a year or two ago, actually. It's written on a custom C++ engine. You can find it at yachtclubgames.com/Shovel Knight. It's $15. You can pick it up on Steam or the Humble Store. What is it? Shovel Knight is a sweeping classic action-adventure game with awesome gameplay, memorable characters, and a retro 8-bit aesthetic. If you love games with perfect platforming, beautiful art, infectious music, crazy bosses, humor and levity, and real heart, Shovel Knight is for you. And, of course, we're going to put Shovel Knight on the rack and subject it to the chairquisition. 1 chair means that it's shit. 2 chairs means that it's pretty good. 3 chairs means... Or no, 1 chair means that's shit. 2 chairs means that's meh. 3 chairs means it's pretty good. 4 chairs means shut up, take my money. It's awesome. Pedro will plagiarize Yahtzee a million times over.
Yeah!
It is. We also have our categories of Doom mixed with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, Ven, this is hipster pixel trash. So how did it work on your overpowered PC? I'm sure it brought it to a standstill.
It did. I mean, I had to enable the turbo boost mode I'm just fucking with you. We ran it on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS Dual 770 octo-core box of business. And it ran without a hitch. It launched fine. No issues. Controllers and all that. Fine. No glitches, no hang-ups. I've put well over almost 2 ons into it, and no complaints, which is nice to see for a change. 4 chairs! Deal with it.
I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. This game has like stupid low system requirements. I tested this on the A10-1500K base system and the 1090T 670 superclock combo of By My Footness here. One thing that I really liked is the fact that you can just plug in a controller. You don't have to restart the game, which is, you would think that should be a common feature in 2014, but it's not.
And I'll back you up on that. It works.
Yep. So 4 chairs. It gets it on that merit alone.
Yep. And for me, on the calculator, using Ubuntu 1404 64-bit, with the Intel i3 370M and the 5650 HD Mobility Radeon with the open source 10.4 Mesa drivers, it ran out of the box, no issues. The controller was detected out of the box, no problems, so 4 chairs.
Alright, so that's 4 chairs for Make with the working. Shiny and Sounds. Then.
Shiny and Sounds. Now this, I'm going to have to come off the notes here. Mario 3, Zelda 2, DuckTales, and Mega Man jumped into a snog box. And this popped out 9 months later.
Scientifically accurate DuckTales.
In all fairness, I played those games that I mentioned, and I beat every single one of them on the old NES. They didn't look this good. This is more of, not an 8-bit, a 16-bit. This reminds me of SNES days. And I'm not even going to touch on the parallax scrolling argument, because I know some people are going to come in and scream, what about Battletoads and Mega Man 3 had parallax scrolling? It didn't. That was a trick to make it look like it. Shh, it's okay. But it genuinely looks nice for what it is. No issues with that, but the sounds. Fuck, mothering, the sounds, the bells. They are stupidly accurate to the 8-bit era. I don't know if that was jarring my brain organ, looking at 16-bit graphics and 8-bit sounds that were kind of spooky, like brought me back. And I was like, whoa, 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 I remember all this business. And nope, had to cut that knot. So I put on some Slayer, as is tradition, and all was well. Looks good, sounds horrible, but it still gets 3 chairs. J-Man.
Yeah, no, I mean the main aesthetic goal of this game right from the outset is to recapture the sort of 8-bit, 16-bit magic with the audio and the sounds, and it accomplishes its goals very well. Like it basically looks like a game you might have played on a NES or Super Nintendo back in the day. As for sounds, I usually play platformers without any noise. I found it a bit distracting, so I cut that off. But that aside, I mean, it looks as good as it's going to, given the limitations that the artists put on themselves. So I got to give it 3 cheers for that. Not mind blowing, but it gets the job done.
Well, for me specifically, it's the standard hipster pixel fare. The graphics were nothing to write home about. They were reasonably well done. There were no glitches that I could see, so they worked. It gets 2 chairs right from that. But I actually had to mute the music because it made my eardrums bleed. We're talking that really loud, really obnoxious chiptunes.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
So yeah, 2 chairs for me.
All right, so that's 2 cheers for Shiny and Sounds. Up next is Control. Then
Controls. Check this business out. Look at it. In all its magnificence, this is the X-Clone controller that we've pretty much came to the conclusion that this is an Xbox controller that fell off the truck and just didn't get all of its branding. Worked out of the box. No issues with that. The jumped, and the shoveled. Character movement. It felt sluggish. Honestly,
Yep.
I feel the entire game, for me, would have been more enjoyable if I could maybe give it a 10% speed boost, because everything felt slow. But that said, the mechanics are spot on. You can absolutely stick those jumps, grab the ladders, and you do your pogo jump. Perfect. So it's definitely built around that. Inventory management, fucking useful. That's weird, considering you basically have your 2 buttons, plus your start and your select. Workable. You can actually sit back on your couch organ and play this without needing your gerbil or keyboard anywhere around. The special attacks at first I thought, well, that's a bit kludgy. But then again I thought, well, this is kind of how we used to have to do it back in the Nintendo days with our 2 buttons, and they made good use of that. It worked. No complaints. So I guess at the end of the day, that's something I would never think about giving hipster pixel trash a 4 chairs.
So I really have 2 problems with this game. Number 1, I'm used to playing this style of game on a handheld. My first exposure to platformers was Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, and that's more or less been the context to which I played platformers from then on. I really want to play this game on a toilet, but I can't. That involves moving PC and moving the Steam box over to the bathroom, and that's just...
Get an x86
Wait,
tablet.
I
and
thought you
install
said
Linux.
moving feces.
That is way too much effort when I have to take a dump. The other thing is, games like these require a good D-pad, and the Xbox controller severely lacks it. I gave it a try with my Hori Precision. I'm starting to think this guy's actually broken because it stopped working for most games. So I had to tough it out through using the shitty D-pad on the 360 controller. Yeah, but besides from that, yeah, the controls are pretty spot on. Like Ben said, you have no issue making jumps and whatnot. The controls are very consistent, no glitches, 3 chairs.
You know, you can tell a game is using SDL2 or some incarnation of it when this thing works out of the box properly mapped. It's actually amazing. But yeah, PS2 DualShock was recognized, no problems, everything was mapped sensibly. And at first, much like Ven, I thought that the character moved as though he weighed a ton. Everything was very sluggish. It felt weird. But then I realized that it was just the animation. It didn't actually matter mechanics-wise because they made so the animation, the character's animation, looked as though he was heavy. And it makes sense because he's wearing a full plate armor and he's carrying a shovel around. But mechanics-wise, everything was right. Say the hitbox moved the moment you push the button for your character to move. So for me, no problems. 4 chairs.
All right, so that is 3 chairs for controls. And finally, fun. Ben, did you have fun?
Well, we all know how much I love retro hipster pixel trash. It's right up there with turn-based strategy. But you're going to ask yourself, Vin, is this game fun? Yes. For a hipster pixel game, this is on the top of the nostalgia grab pile. Is it Nintendo hard? No. It's boringly easy compared to what I grew up with. Does it have problems? Well, let's check with the judge on this business. I had to put on a hard hat when I was fighting the bosses because it was beating me over the head with like, look, we are showing you boss patterns. Remember those? Like, oh, I get it. But what you don't remember is those boss patterns were a limitation of actual hardware back in the day and the amount of space you had, and developers did everything they could to disguise those patterns to make them look more random. This goes out of its way, and I found it just unnecessary. And in the old times, get off my lawn,
Long before?
long time ago, it's just
Ages ago in distance past.
billions of years ago in the future's past. And another thing that the hipster pixel genre lacks across the board that I've not seen is something we used to, hello motorcycle that just went flying by. Slow down. Slow down. This is something that was still even prevalent on the SNES and the Genesis, is when you had too much shit getting busy together with the pixels on the screen organ. You had to deal with that, and that was a real thing that you had to learn to work around. I would like to see that introduced if you wanted to go old school with something. And finally,
Like Space Invaders.
where's my life system, bro? I want my 3 lives. Seriously, that's Nintendo hard right there. But then Zelda 2 had a battery in it in Metroid.
You played Zelda 2.
Yeah, I did. And you could have a big, long, complex save code and Metroid and all that. That's true. Bring that shit back. Give me a little battery meter. In fact, don't even give me the little battery meter for your CR2032. Just make it randomly forget your fucking game and start all the way back at the beginning. Or make me get out pen and paper and write some analog code. It's like, oh, I'll remember that and make you punch it in with a fucking controller.
But Ben, you have like a tablet. You can just snap a picture of it.
Brilliant. Bring that shit back. And honestly, having a checkpoint system in the levels, that's just fucking too easy. I mean, when you knew you had your lives, even, all right, let's just say we didn't have the life system. But if you died and you had to start back at Genesis, that gives you a little more fuck, as, oh, right, back at the waypoint. Okay, oh, I die. Oh, okay, let me start it. You just memorize it and go through it. It's not that difficult. But that said, at the end of the day, take that shot. I gotta admit, it was fun. It kept me coming back for more. I'm gonna give it 3 chairs. That's the highest I've ever done for hipster pixel trash. J-Man.
Who are you and what did you do at the real Ben Stone? You're an imposter placed here by Putin or the NSA. Anyways, really, I hate to say this, but this is the wrong platform for this platformer. I would honestly say I might have had a lot more fun with this game if I were playing it on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Playing it again. This was just the context in which I was raised to play platformers. I'm used to playing them on a handheld system. Playing it like using an actual controller on a TV just weirds me out. Like it almost detracts away from the enjoyment, because this is something I would want to play on the crapper. So the game itself is fun enough. It's a love letter to all those hipster pixel games of yore. It does it. I'd say it does it well. It has the secrets. It may not be as fuck you hard as some of these old games, but I don't think it necessarily has to be. It's more, the game sort of reflects your own skilled level. If you're really good at platforming, this game is going to be easy. If you suck at platforming, this game will be hard. And that's really all I have to say about it. Final, like I said, probably I would have liked this better if it was on the 3DS. I have to play it on Linux, though, because this is Linux Gamecast, not Linux 3DS Cast. So, 2 chairs.
Yeah, I'm not a big platformer fan. platforming games, I used to play them a lot in the early 90s because that was basically all there is for the Master System back then. So yeah, I played a lot of it. DuckTales, Alex Kidd, whatever the subtitle was, but yeah. Platformers, for me, they have to have something that sets them apart from the rest. And this game doesn't. In fact, the whole point of this game, like Ben already mentioned, is to harken back to those days where platformers were the norms, so to speak. It's the 8-bit era. You got a character, 2D movement, jump around, be precise, and all that.
Jump up, and get down.
Pretty much. But okay, I'll give it that it does have the Metroidvania elements to sort of break the monotony of the platforming. But for me, a platformer, in order to be interesting, it has to be something like Rogue Legacy, Awesome Knots. Those are pretty awesome. But that's because the platforming is a secondary thing to the roguelite in the case of Rogue Legacy, and the MOBA in the case of Awesome Knots. So, don't get me wrong. For what it is, the game is solid. But I really don't like platformers. 2 chairs.
So that's 2 chairs for fun. And if we tally this all up, this ultimately becomes a 2-chair game. So, gentlemen, final thoughts?
I'll tell you something that would definitely turn this into a 3-chair game. 50% off. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, the Linux port was severely delayed. So, just showing a little bit there. They did a good job on it. I mean, the port we got was polished. It works. The controllers work. I mean, the game is fun.
Yep.
I'm intrigued enough. I went through one part. There was one of the knights I was fighting that irritated me enough to was like, okay, I want to figure this out. Then I got into the upgradings and all that fun stuff. I might go back to this when I have nothing going around, or I might just save it for the home. At $14.99 Wet Stinky Cashes, I can't say run out and buy it, even if you're a huge fan of, you know, the hipster pixel genre, or if you're getting off my lawn and you're my age, you don't want to remember when games were shit. Because this was, I said this to myself, I don't know if I ever wrote it down. If this game was, or if anybody ever made one that was completely accurate to what we used to have to deal with, no one would fucking play it. So we can't really fault them for not including all the bullshit that we had to deal with. It's just you have to realize that there are going to be some things you're like, what? We didn't have this growing up. J-Man?
I mean, so I've seen several Let's Plays of this game. They actually do give you a good amount of content. I'm not sure if it's $15 worth of content, maybe 10. I think the price point is a little too high, like Ben said. But other than that, it's a pretty solid platformer. It definitely has the fundamentals down, which is probably one of the more important things in a platformer. There's, oh, look at all this experimental shit we do. You remember that one, the 3 Dead Zed? That one did not have its That one did not have its fundamentals down, and that made it suffer as a game as a whole. So there's that. If you're into platformers, if you're into retro-style platformers, definitely check this out. Wait until it's on sale. Pedro?
Yeah, like Ven said, this game would get 3 chairs if it cost $10. If it cost $5, yeah, definitely. But for me, in order to actually get the 3 chairs, it would have to have much better music. Don't get me wrong, I love chiptunes, as long as they're done properly. This game, they're not. They're completely obnoxious. If you guys... bit of spit there. If you guys need recommendations on who to use or on who to hire to do chiptunes, get someone like BitShifter or Disaster Piece. Those guys are pretty good.
No.
Well,
what did Yahtzee say? Just hammer cat's tails or something like that and record it?
Yeah,
that was a Monty Python sketch. But coming up next, honest to goodness hate mail. For once.
Yep.
Paid your ass last week, and I delivered.
Like the show? Check us out at linuxgamecast.com. Click on the podcast button for RSS feeds, our wall of shame, and donato buttons. There's also an Amazon affiliate link, because making this shit is hella expensive, yo. Speaking of which, if you like kicking us somewhat stinky, a recurring donation gets you a producer's credit at the end of the show, and a one-time donation gets you into the super ultra mega chocolatey fudge Linux Gaming Super Squad. Broke as shit. Can't steal your parents' credit cards? No problem. Spread the word on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. And remember, kids, fuckity bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the hate mail, and I've spent weeks upon weeks asking for actual hate mail, and this week we've got some. But hey, if this is for some reason the first time you're actually watching Linux Gamecast, just, if you'd like to get in touch with us, provide us with some feedback or some true hate mail, go on over to linuxgamecast.com, push that contact button on the nav bar there, fill out your name, fill out your email, give us a subject, give us your message, prove you're smarter than Vensbot, and we'll feature your message. Unless, of course, you're trying to promote some sort of crowdsourcing, whatever you want to call it, campaign, then we will need a demo, alpha, beta, prototype, whatever you want to call it, so we can play around with your game or software, whatever it is. Otherwise, not only will we not mention your thing, we will also make fun of you. But starting us off this week, it's not actually hate mail. It's
No, it's something new,
feedback.
or nouveau. This is from
Yes.
This is from TJPLD. He's talking about Nouveau Wayland, and apparently we are incorrect. If you are on a NVIDIA GPU, you can in fact run Wayland on Fedora 20 using GNOME 3.4.
14.
What he said, or 3.14, sorry, yes. He says, GNOME with the Mutter Wayland compositor basically always worked since GNOME 3.10. Nouveau uses standard open source graphics stack like all the other drivers to work out of the box. With Mesa 10.3 and the latest Nouveau DDX, even direct rendering, DRI3, and Glamour for 2D acceleration, and X Wayland work. Then he goes on talking about some of the difficulties in the past, and that he doesn't know if Intel and AMD support Wayland out of the box. But I did know that the Nouveau guys and the GNOME guys were working really, really closely together to get their shit working on Wayland out of the box. I didn't know how far ahead they were, but apparently if you are a Nouveau user, you can in fact use Wayland. Pedro,
Gallium 3D, the AMD open source driver, supports both DRI3 and Glamour, but Glamour is only officially supported if you have a Radeon 6K or above at this point. So keep that in mind.
Well, I did see one
Fun
thing that
stuff.
came out today. I think it was in Linux_gaming. It was about NVIDIA is planning on supporting Wayland with the closed source binary drivers. Unfortunately, it was on Phronic, so first I had to edit my host and I list and visit the site. There was literally and genuinely not a single link to the source on any.
Yeah, it was like a slide from a presentation ultimately.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would take that with a grain of chainsaw. But what have we got up next, ladies and gentlemen?
Bears.
Care Bears everywhere.
All right,
And this comes from Winston.
Winston.
And he says, I never knew there were so much Care Bears in the Linux community until recently.
That's
From
gross.
puttering crying about being criticized to Liam Dowham moaning because people make fun of him on the internet of all places. I am really amused. Bitches like Pottering who only want things to go their way are the current cancers of Linux, and they need to die off as quickly as possible.
You're wrong. We are the cancer of Linux.
Yes. Haven't you
Pay
read?
no attention that we're a comedy podcast that talks about Linux gaming. Forget that.
We're
Haven't
like
you
a malignant,
been on
we're like a
Linux
malignant
underscore
tumor.
gaming?
We cause your
are the
testicles to
tumor.
be removed. That's just what it is.
I don't know. I mean, that's the whole
We
thing.
will
He
cut your
wants
balls
something
off.
to work a certain way, and even Linus was like, "Go away."
Linus does not care unless it impacts his kernel, and because that's his baby. And when systemd starts fucking up, he has to go back to these guys and say, "Hey, listen, you got to fix your shit."
Fix your
But
shit
moving-
or get the fuck out.
Moving on, 777aka says, "This podcast is just awful. It's run by frauds and filled with decent. A real shame that these fucks represent Linux gaming." Okay, thank you for calling us decent. Yes.
We're filled with decent, whatever that is.
Yes, we're probably the most decent podcast. I don't even know where to go with that.
I don't know. I've had like one of my roommate's friends is like, "Yeah, I watch your podcast." I'm like, "Oh yeah, how unfortunate. How is that?" It's like, it's about as good as any other
I'm
podcast.
always like,
and I think
on purpose.
And I think that, yeah, that I think that is the metric that we ascribe to. We are no better or no worse than any other podcast out there. So there's that. And someone wants to talk about sausage. He says, "Fuck you. Go die in a hole. Go die in a hole, you fucktards. You bring out the worsty, spelt ye olde way, in the Linux community. So please, for the love of Linux, go shut your shitty webpage down and die, you fucking kids." That's the Ben. I think you had some issues with the spelling of worst.
Worst.
No. That's versed.
No. That's racist. Okay. I don't know. If you're going to send some hate mail, I really shouldn't. My first image should not be that little kid, screaming.
Sausage.
Like, and that's exactly how this reads. I mean, I don't know if you dropped out of secondary school or what the exact deal is, but apparently capitalization, punctuation, and or grammar is not your strong suit.
Nope.
So, we're probably going to shut our webpage down, and we'll probably
no. We, you know what? We can't take this abuse anymore. We quit. This is the last episode of the podcast.
We
ever.
quit.
Oh,
But
we have one more email to go through.
all right.
Dan says, "I don't give a fuck about all this bullshit drama. You guys make my Monday mornings bearable, so keep on keeping on."
Thanks. Because of that kind words, this won't be the last Linux Gamecast.
You know,
Yeah,
all
we
I gotta
appreciate
say
the
is,
support.
When
Well,
people
we-
say
we-
shit like that, you could not have cut me more deeply. And on that bombshell, cue the music, because at the end of the day, you can always catch us live in your face organ around 9:30 Eastern Moon Time. I'm Vin Stone, cleverly disguised on the Twitter nets, plus Vin Stone in the G pluses. What's up, stud?
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me on Twitter at The Burning Fool or on the Google Pluses at plus Jordan Svung. Or Quang if you can't pronounce it like the guys at PC Per.
Yes, Josh Walrath would like a word with you, but I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on the Google Pluses.
You can always find Chat Realm Dynamic. Sitting in there, they are the worst of the worst, the trolliest of trolls, and let me tell you what I mean trolls. They actually they hate us so much. They donate money just so we keep going so they can continue hating us. That's
It's a
metal.
vicious cycle.
I
It
respect
really
it.
is.
So I guess all we have to say to the people is Jesus is our plagiarist.
Yes. And be good to one another. Don't
I
start playing wars
plagiarized
on the internet.
Jesus.
I crucified him,
plagiarized
so I think,
Jesus
I
all
think,
the
I think it's
way.
all I think it's all good.
Don't slip and crucify somebody.
All right, and with that, I'm gonna go have.